What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. How are all you beautiful people doing? We're back another Saturday evening. We missed you guys, man. Shout out to everybody in chat. Once again, retweet the link. Let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live. This is what we do every single Saturday, man. Appreciate you guys coming out. As you guys can see, we are down one amigo. So shout out to Fuzz. He is not on the show this week, running around doing some family stuff. So shout out to you and wifey, bro. I hope y'all have fun. Hope y'all enjoy and have a safe weekend. But shout out to everybody, like I said, who's coming through today, who's going to hang out with us. Appreciate all you guys in chat, all you guys watching later on, too. We got an awesome guest, family, really. Ain't even really a guest at this point, and all of a sudden, and as well as I got my other right hand man too. So we'll just get this thing going, man. Jump off the porch with this. What's up, Steel? How you doing, bro? Appreciate you coming through this week. I sent up that bat signal, and you always good for it, brother. But how you doing? What you been up to? What you been playing?
Man, what's going on, PTK? How y'all feeling tonight? And it's gonna be a lively night. We didn't have a show this morning, so me and Pong are about to give you 11 split screen right here on the Shop Podcast. So hopefully the chat is locked in. But yeah, man, everything's been good. As far as what I've been playing, it's been a whole lot of just Space Marine 2, man.
Okay.
For the most part, for sure. Top to bottom, I just nonstop PvP action. Ever since we beat the game live on stream, which is still up on Living Split Screen for anybody that's interested to checking that out, live commentary and all that fun times.
Yeah, go watch that.
But yeah, man, I think we put about I want to say. I think Pong probably has a little bit better of the real time, but I think he's right around 17 hours or so.
Yep, just about 17 hours.
Beating the campaign and doing the co-op missions that do actually coincide with the story as well. So it's like you're getting two sides of the main story as you're playing, and those missions are replayable. And apparently, Pong as well. There's a mod currently that takes 3 of the missions from the campaign and makes them accessible as operation missions as well.
Dope.
So, modders are already getting in on point, and
gotta love that.
Coming out and letting people know that, hey, when it's games on PC, some things are allowed to happen. We're not really looking to block any of that stuff, but
that's awesome.
They still want people to be careful though, because there are people that are cheating. People are downloading mods and doing weird cheats and stuff. I was getting shot by somebody in PvP. They had a one-shot pistol. So that was interesting. But the great thing is, since this game does have in-game party chat, or in-game chat at least, everybody was in the lobby saying, hey, we need to report this guy. Report him. So that was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. And other than that, I've been sliding around a little bit in a racer known as Car X Street. The best way that I describe it, it's a blend of Need for Speed, maybe the Crew a little bit, except that it doesn't go as far like, for example, like the Crew 2. Much more akin to Horizon, but it has a good blend of Forza Horizon, Need for Speed, and Midnight Club as far as customization and things go. One of the ththings that they did do though is that they don't have any of the brands of the cars in there, but they have the cars in there.
The likeness.
Right?
Yeah.
No, it's the exact car. It just they don't have a brand. That way, I guess, so they can subvert all the licensing fees and all that good stuff. But again, this is a game that was a mobile game. Where they took it and made an official PC release, a standalone, kind of in of its own thing. And they do have another PC version called Car X Drift that apparently is doing really well, and people love to jump into. So it's been really dope jumping into this one. It was like a $20 game. Really was like complete left field for me. Had some mixed reviews at the time. People talking about the AI and stuff like that, but I got some time in there, and I've been enjoying it, man. So it's been a fun time. That's been dope. But gaming is better than it's ever been, man.
Facts.
So that's the main thing.
Let's make sure we stay there, because people forget. I know we do this social media shit all the time, and sometimes we lose sight a little bit too close to the fire. Icarus situation. So yeah, we got that RTS view that you be talking about still. So, but appreciate you coming through today. You guys know what to do, chat. Go Shout out Steel. Go follow Steel. Go do everything you need to do. Subscribe to the channel. All of that. Living Split Screen is moving, man. It's a phenomenal show. I know they didn't have one this morning, but they will be back next week, man. So I got both of them here. We doing a collab this week. So shout out to you for coming through, Steel. And got my other brother here, Mr. Pong. So always appreciate you, bro, coming through. The Duracell battery of the podcast, brother. What you been up to? You been playing? All that good stuff.
Great to be back, and of course, awesome to be able to have Living Split Screen actually go live tonight instead of this morning. So thank you, PTK, for being our guest today on Living Split Screen and letting us use your channel. It is absolutely amazing to be here. Great to sit down and talk, especially since Steele and I did not get to do our show this morning because real life happens, and just was easier just to call it, even though we were gonna do a short show. That Steve was like, "Yeah, I got some stuff too," and I'm like, he was like, "Let's just call it." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, sounds good to me, man. If that's the way you feel, let's do it." And obviously, I took off last night from Xbox Ultimate, so I am I am refreshed, and I'm ready to rock and roll. So we got a lot to get into as far as gaming goes, though. My God, this week coming up too is going to be massive.
It's crazy,
we got the supposed state of play is going to happen this week. Then we got TGS, which I had completely forgotten about. Like we've got
tomorrow.
No,
it's 26th.
Yeah, it's like it's Thursday. It's going to be early our time, early Thursday morning.
Yeah, I'm not even going to get to watch it. I have to keep
like
up
5 a.m. Central, like crazy time. Yeah, like crazy. So the next week is going to be absolutely insane too. We're going to have a lot to talk about next week. But man, gaming, listen, after Steel and I beat Space Marine 2, I've been trying to find a way to get into some PvP with him. I really want to play PvP in that game. Just have not found the time to do it because my schedule's been crazy, but I got to make that happen. But we had a great time beating Space Marine 2. It's still been on my mind ever since we beat it because of how good it is, and I'm loving how people are reacting to that game. I got to shout it out because, again, we just don't see those types of games, those 360 games, era games, and people... A lot of people have been clamoring for that type of game, so this is your moment, people, to shine. Go buy that game. Support Saber, support Focus. If we want to see more of this type of game, like Steel was talking about, Steel has been playing PvP nonstop, so just a complete package, co-op, PvP, and single player, and it is absolutely well worth your money to drop into.
Shout out to Focus too, because Focus is super underrated, bro. They do this 2-3 times a year, and people don't ever acknowledge it. Plague Tale, they really make quality. They don't make they fund the games, but but they put their money in the right place. They put their money behind the right games, the right ideas, and it shows every year.
It sure seems like it, man. And Saber coming through after knowing mostly for AA stuff, showing up here with Space Marine 2 at a AAA level, just complete package.
Wasn't it a pretty small team too, right?
Yeah, it's smaller team too. Just absolutely phenomenal. So I got to shout that out, even though I haven't played it this week. I just got to shout it out because it's so damn good. This week I've been playing a lot of Age of Mythology Retold still, rocking and rolling in that. Absolutely loving playing a little bit of campaign. I'm actually through the whole Greek side of the campaign. I'm now into the Egyptian side of the campaign, which is super awesome. I just got there, and then obviously still doing skirmishes against the AI. I love doing that. Again, I'm not going to get sweaty in the multiplayer. I don't play it enough, but just having a blast with Age of Mythology Retold. They did such a phenomenal job with that game. I'm so impressed. There's little things they got to fix, as they always do with Age games, but my God, it's just such a well done remake that kept the originality of the OG version, and that's what was awesome about it, because it felt so different from the other Ages, Age 2 Definitive Edition and Age 4. It just slots in perfectly, and I love the mythology world, and it's just so cool. So I've been playing that, and then as I was telling you behind the scenes, PTK, Frostpunk 2 came out. Shout out to PC Game Pass. This will be coming to consoles hopefully next year as well, and it will be in console Game Pass as well. But Frostpunk 2 just dropped in the PC Game Pass this week on Thursday. Thursday. And shout out to 11-Bit Studios. If for anybody who doesn't know, 11-Bit Studios is out of Poland. They are a smaller team. They've done the Frostpunk series. They've also done the War of Mine, which a lot of people, this War of Mine, I should say, a lot of people understand, played that one as well, which is more narrative, really deep game, emotional type game.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and they've published a lot of games, Creatures of Ava, The Invincible, Children of Morta, Moonlighter, Thermitage. So they've had their hands on a lot of things. Altars, which is coming out later in Game Pass as well. This year, the Altars, if you haven't played, didn't get a chance to play the demo. I played the demo on PC. Freaking fantastic. That's that sci-fi game. Anyways, shout out to 11-Bit Studios. Frostpunk 2, Frostpunk is a hit, especially over on PC. I played it on console on Game Pass way back when it was on Game Pass for a bit. Hop back into it on PC. I told you guys that last week. Trying to get back into the swing of things again. But then I started reading the reviews, and they were like, yo, they've just gone a whole nother level, made this such a bigger experience. This is different, gutsy, risky. They could have done the same type of game and really killed it, but they went out of their way to do some different mechanics and really make all your decisions. It's less intimate than the first one, which I really loved the intimacy of the first game because it was you and your small little colony trying to survive the freeze. And so it was different, and it almost like you got to know some of the people in your colony, as they would pop up and people died. And again, this is a brutal game. Well, this one is like that, but times by about 100, because now you're taking care of this huge colony, and you've got to make these massive decisions, and now you've got huge factions involved as well politically. You did have some of that in the original one, but not to this level. Now you set up these councils and all this kind of stuff, and how you used to do laws, that's still there, but you can let the factions call the shots and set up their own laws, and that's going to affect your relationships. The upgrade system is much bigger than the first one, decision-wise, and what you got to decide to do. All the brutality is still there. Again, this is a game where you're going to lose. Okay, this isn't a game that you sit down and you're just like, okay, I'm going to beat this out the gate. That's not, you can play on the easy mode. They got a real easy mode now. They got a narrative kind of mode. If you want to do that, you can do that. But even on normal, they warn you up front, be prepared. Your colony's going to die. It's kind of part of the experience until you get to learn how to plan things out. And they've taken that and actually increased it as well as to kind of the planning that you have to do. It's even more expansive than the first one. So you got to really be thinking 3 steps ahead. You got to be watching the weather. You got to be understanding what's coming in. And I'm just playing through kind of their campaign story mode because it's more of a tutorial, and it introduces you to all the mechanics, a couple at a time, and gets you ramped up and ready to go so you can take on a full-fledged scenario by yourself. And so I'm just, again, even having played the first one, there is a lot in this game to learn. But man, 11-Bit Studios took the beautiful graphics from the first one and went to work on them and did all of this extra detail stuff. Again, these cities are crazy. I made a post today with a short video. It's always tough because obviously compression is terrible. And I took some screenshots, but my God, this thing in action, of course, it's on my PC and I'm not playing on the big screen because it's no controller support yet. It's all keyboard and mouse right now. So I'm playing on my widescreen Samsung monitor. This thing at 1440, my God, the level of detail that they've gone to with the cities and how close you can get, and it's absolutely brings everything to life in this game. And obviously, as somebody who lives in the north over winters and has experienced wind chills at minus 60, minus 70.
No, thank you.
Even more than that at times in my life, multiple times in my life. And every winter you'll get down regular negative 20, negative 30 wind chills. Seeing this temperature change, like I can feel it because I know what that's like, and so that even adds another layer for me personally to this type of game because I know what this would be like. These people are going through, but just shout out to 11-Bit Studios. They've done a fantastic job here. Anybody interested in strategy games like Frostpunk, and you want to play something that is brutal, and I mean that in the best of ways. You've got to make decisions. You're going to have people die underneath your leadership in your colony. The idea is to get the majority of the colony to survive, right? But you're gonna have people die. You're gonna have to make tough decisions. You're gonna have to sacrifice. You're gonna have to tell people to tighten up their belts, eat less. There's all sorts of that. If you want a game like that, go check out Frostpunk 2. And if you have PC Game Pass, even better, it's there, no risk. Beautiful music too. The first one had great music. This one is, oh my God, beautiful music to go along with it. So that's my selling this week. Go buy Space Marine 2. And then if you like strategy, please go check out Frostpunk 2. All right?
Facts, man. We got the ads out of the way, right? We got the sales pitches out of the way. But shout out to you, Pong, for coming through. And once again, I'm not even into those kind of games, and I look into a chat. So please go take a look. If you're not familiar with it, just go watch some YouTube videos. I did a few times. And it looks amazing. So we'll see what happens when it does come to console. But let's get into this, man. We got a lot to talk about. Shout out to Luke for coming through. XEP in the chat. So shout out to him. Appreciate you coming through, Luke. But yeah, we're gonna jump off the porch, man. We getting right into it because I've been holding on to this all week. I've been chomping at the bits. I told Steele I've been ready to talk about this. So we getting into this Nintendo stuff. So I want to talk a little bit about Nintendo suing Palworld developer Pocket Pair. Okay, I want to get into that a little bit and just what I think, what you guys think. I did watch PM and the PM. You guys talked about that extensively, and it was a great conversation. Shout out to Mav too. And I know you guys need to talk about it this morning, but we gotta get in on this, Paul, because this is asinine. It is asinine. Shout out to chat too. So you guys let me know what you guys think about this Nintendo suing Pocket Pair. So just to sum everything up, if you don't know, you've been living under a rock. Palworld is it's not even like Pokemon, which is a crazy thing. It's more akin to Ark than Pokemon. The only likeness is obviously the balls, capturing pets, things like that. Outside of that, it's pretty much a survival game, which Pokemon is not at all. So, like I said, it's closer to Ark. But just the idea that they're even suing them, and it's not even for the likeness. Because remember, Pong, for when Palworld came out, the first thing people said is, oh no, that's not gonna work. That's easy work for Nintendo. They're going to sue them for likeness. Look at this one-to-one. We had Excel spreadsheets. We had slides. We had all kind of stuff. People breaking down pixel by pixel. This fox looks like this other fox. Look at the tail. Look at the nose. Look at the eyes.
It's the same thing. Down the stencils, bro. The Nintendrones were out here going, they stenciled this. They said, look at these lines. Look at the angle. We've got a 58-degree angle on these eyes.
Everything. It was ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Those people proved to be editing the images to.
Yes, correct, Steele.
But that was the initial issue, right? Before we found out, obviously, that was part of the initial issue that a lot of people try to bring up. A lot of Nintendo fans try to bring up, but this is ridiculous, obviously. So let me start with you, Pong, about this, because obviously you talked about this Thursday, bro, but we got to get into this a little bit more, man. Nintendo gets so many passes, and they're probably the most anti-competitive out of the three. They do these things regularly, and people do not talk about it because they're so caught up in the next Mario game, the next Pokemon game. These things don't come up, but this happens fairly regularly with Nintendo. They shut down, YouTube channels with 50 subscribers because they decided to play a Nintendo game or a mod that they didn't like, and they shut it down. All kind of little anti-consumer, anti-gamer stuff. So where you at on this, Paul?
Oh, my God. Well, you know where I'm coming, everybody. I said it at PM of the PM. A lot of people out here love to bring the heat against Sony and Xbox and Microsoft and PlayStation over and over again as being the big bad companies of the world, and rightfully so, many times, right? Again, we've had our own criticisms here of all this, but there are people that absolutely call out the evil, especially Microsoft and Xbox, right? Just because it's Microsoft as a parent company. But, man, there's this little billion-dollar company running around behind the scenes that is just as big a shitty ass company as all the other ones are, but just never. Oh, because they make our favorite cute little games from when we were kids that we still love when we're adults, and Mario and Zelda, and they're just the best. They just are. They're the greatest consumer advocate company ever. Meanwhile, they're shutting down small ass little YouTube creators who love that company and happen to just put up some copyrighted images as YouTubers are wont to do and talk about them and show their love for all that is Nintendo. And Nintendo comes in and goes, yeah, you can't do that. That's our property. Bye. And they slam the door on them and shut down their little tiny YouTube channels. This company has been doing this for a very long time. They should not get out of the conversation of being a corporation as well. A big, bad, evil, money-loving, money-grubbing corporation as well, as all the other ones are. Nintendo
Absolutely.
is exactly the same. Nintendo is the company who sold their customers cardboard and called it innovative and had people praise them for it because it had Nintendo stamped on the side of the freaking recycled cardboard. Okay,
we've been playing a Pokemon game that I could play on a Nokia cell phone now. The newest Pokemon game, I could probably go pick up a 6-7-year-old cell phone and play that Pokemon game on a. That's how non-innovative they've been. This is probably one of the most recognizable brands on the planet. Pokemon, like Pepsi, Pokemon, Coke, you know what I mean? Like, it's up there, you know what I mean? So, like, this is asinine, bro. You know what pissed me off, too, Pong?
Yeah.
Is the fact that they allowed them to make this game. They knew they couldn't get them on a copyright thing, and they spent 8 months and countless amount of money trying to find just one little angle that they can get in the door, and I don't understand what's the goal, Pong. I don't understand what the goal is.
The goal is what they always do. They want to shut down smaller people. So, right, they knew they didn't have a case with the creatures, right? So, but this is what I was talking about on PM and the PM. This lawsuit should really have everybody, including the most
terrible
ardent Nintendo drones, should be up in arms against their favorite company over this lawsuit, because this is about them having a patent for a game mechanic,
throwing a ball
that is capturing a monster with an object.
Oh my goodness.
And that's not even a joke. That's like literally the description if you go read it. Capturing a creature in a game world with an object. Okay? This is something they have done previously. They have a lot of these patents out there, and they're not the only ones, right? They aren't. There's a lot of devs and publishers who have patented certain mechanics, right? The Nemesis system, WB, right? Patented the Nemesis system.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, this isn't the first time this happened. I think it's all nuts. Now, the Nemesis system, I still am even against that, because Steele and I have talked about this many times on Living Split Screen, how cool it would be if that was like an open kind of system that they licensed out to everybody or let everybody use, and how many games would have just run wild with that system. It would have been really dope to see. So I'm not even for that, but even at the Nemesis system level, I can the complexity behind it. I can kind of understand. It's almost like an engine within an engine, right? So I can almost understand why that. Okay, well, maybe we're a little bit deeper over that side. But these simple mechanics that Nintendo's trying to go after Pocket Pair 4 is absolutely ridiculous, and no gamer should be for this, because this, if they win this, could have massive implications. And if you're going to sit back and go, oh no, this is Nintendo just trying to teach Pocket Pair a lesson because they copied Pokemon. No. This is the slippery slope that everybody warns about. You do not and cannot have companies be able to take a simple game mechanic like this and patent it and then shut down a game that comes along because that game so happened to take inspiration, right, from something that another company owns, and just do it to a level that was better than anything that former company has put out, and a lot of people enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yep.
We cannot have this, because again, this patent is as if somebody patented, let's say, kill monster in game, get experience, level up character.
Ridiculous.
This is how simplistic this patent is.
Imagine if Halo patented the overshield or something.
Right.
Like, what the hell? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right. So this to me is big company coming against little company because they did something better than they've ever been willing to do. And before you all say Nintendo has nothing to do with Pokemon, they don't make.
I don't want to hear that.
I understand, but let's be real. If you don't think Nintendo has influence over Pokemon and specifically in the video game world, that's nuts. Okay, of course they freaking do. Of course they do. So, and again, that's why they're bringing this lawsuit, right? And so I have a big issue with this, and I think that there should be more uproar about this one specifically because of the details behind it, because of what they're trying to pull here. Now, again, I'm not the legal expert. I'm not that guy at all. And shout out to Yobi for reposting to us some Florian Mueller quotes. Again, Florian Mueller knows more. It's specifically in Japan, it sounds like, that they are going after this patent because they know in the U.S. it probably won't go anywhere.
Made it anywhere.
Right? Yeah, so they're going to try it in their home country. Right. They're going to try in their home country where things are different, where there is some monopolistic things that are allowed to happen over there, right? Correct. So again, we're going to see where this goes, but everybody should be up in arms. But I just want to let everybody know this should remind everybody, including the Nintendrones, that your favorite company, Nintendo, again, one of the granddads of video games, and I give them all the respect. I always say respect the hustle, right? Even if I don't like Mario and Zelda, I still respect the hustle. But here, this should remind you all that they are a shitty-ass corporation, just like all the other corporations you complain about. And they are actually attacking gaming here. They are actually attacking the industry here with this lawsuit. And this should worry everybody. And they should be called out for this because this is not okay. This is not the same. This is not like some little tiny lawsuit that's not going to have any impact. This could have massive impact on this on the entire industry. So this definitely should have more people up in arms right now. I'll leave it there.
Well, facts, 1,000%. Now, you know what? And the other thing as well is that there's other games that have come out previous to this that were way closer to Pokemon, that were way closer to a 1-to-1. Was it Tim? There was a bunch of other games that have come out that are all damn near 1-to-1, and they did not even bat an eye at those games. They didn't even look.
And if you want to go back, Pokemon took from other games.
Shin Megami Tensei with the Dragon Quest.
Yes, exactly. So again, it's hypocritical.
Extremely hypocritical. So still, we talked about this a little bit pregame. Obviously, you heard Pong's case. Another thing about Nintendo too, Pong, is that we, unfortunately, because of how people feel emotionally about Nintendo, this probably won't go very far as like what we're talking about. And that's the sad part, because you're right. People don't understand and realize, and Nintendo fans, I've seen a lot of people champion this too. And a lot of people like, oh, good. That's great. About time that they did this. I'm like, what the? You don't even understand what's really going on here.
Send your list of demands to Game Freak and send your list of demands to Nintendo for fixing the freaking Pokemon and do what everybody's been asking for, and stop buying 15-frame pieces of shit games that come out on the Switch just because it's got Pokemon on it. Stand on your hill and tell them what you want, that you want a game like Palworld. Don't turn it on Palworld just because they did it, right? That just because Pocket Pair did it first. Don't go after them because your favorite company so happens to not be willing to give you what you want.
Yeah. So you see that there's a little game called Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. Those even on the same hardware.
Yep.
Those games did all kind of amazing stuff that you Nintendo guys were extremely happy about. Why can't they do things? Why can't they take that level of care to push the hardware to do some of the things that the Pokemon and Nintendo fans want out of that game? So you guys are misguided. Take all that stress and frustration you got, point it at Game Freak, point it at Nintendo, because that's really who you need to be talking to. And this idea that they're just going to sue just because of some random ass mechanic is asinine. It's probably, if I'm being honest, Paul, it's one of the most egregious things that's happened this entire year.
Oh yeah, yep, it's up there
easily. I mean, my layoffs are probably at the top, but outside of that, this is egregious. Like, how dare you, Nintendo? But let me go ahead and let you cook still.
It's extremely interesting to see how this plays out, because it really comes across more like they were waiting to see how successful that this game was going to be.
They were 100%.
Before they decided to make a move.
Yep.
Right. Because again, to Paul's point, there's other games that are out there. But what's really, I guess those games aren't as successful. It hasn't seen the same success that Palworld has seen, so maybe that's why it's not as big of an issue. But there are games that are essentially exact rips off of what Pokemon is, and they haven't tried to chase those other companies out. So it's weird seeing them do it with this one. I don't know. I feel like this is a couple things. The next Pokemon game may be similar to what Palworld is doing. And even involve some of the same mechanics that they have in Palworld, and that may be the reason why people are looking at it, because I can very well see, and I have for a very long time, seen Pokemon go the MMO survival kind of route and make you feel like you're more lived in that world. That was one of the number one things that after Pokemon Ruby, which is a long time ago, I want to say around 2006 is when I stopped, like really dropped the ball on Pokemon, probably even before that. Where I made it known then, I was like, hey, unless something drastically changes, I'm not playing this game again. Like, then to be real with you, and again, my brother just got me to download this Pokemon MMO, which is, again, it's done through an emulator and stuff like that. But this is something that is being done behind the scenes that obviously, again, this is another example of something that people have been wanting for such a long time. And this is still like the old school version of it, right? Of Pokemon. Of course, it's cleaned up and everything, and it looks good, and it's like playing the modern retro kind of pixel games or whatnot, except playing it on your phone now, and it's MMO style. So if these are the things that like your audience has been kind of asking for, and the amount of money that you guys have been raking in from the style of games that you've been making, because the other big thing for me, it's like they've been doing the same exact things, and I noticed that even during that time, me being young, I was like, man, I feel like I'm playing the same game over and over again, just with different monsters in it. So I was extremely excited to see what Palworld has done with this, and I really don't know how this is going to end up turning out, because I do feel like Palworld has a major side to stand on, but I don't know if they necessarily have the money to go toe to toe for Nintendo. And if it's believed to be true what Florian was saying, and he's a little bit more knowledgeable than me on the law side of things. If it ends up going 5 years, I don't know if Palworld can withstand going a trial for that long. But to Paul's point, and many other points that people have made, there's literally them going after a simplified or a simple mechanic like this. And if it's literally comes down to, it's because you have a Pokeball like system. I hope that would be something that is easy enough to change and would be a very quick change for Pocket Pair if that's what it came down to. Though I still think that it's still different enough to the point to where it's not anything that's nothing new. Your exact if their exact replication maybe Pokemon Arceus. That's kind of where they started implementing being able to run around the world and just throw balls at the Pokemon and seamlessly kill them and have somewhat of a chance to capture them or whatever. But again, you're getting to a point where there's that gray area where when is enough? And why are we looking at patenting game mechanics, right?
That's
and
crazy.
Me and PTK were talking about just like the Shadow of War example that y'all just brought up with the Nemesis system in the background as well. That's different because it's something that was created, right? Nobody else has that. That's built. That's AI. There's so many underlying systems that go into that. Somebody really worked to put that together. What Pokemon has been doing is things that games have been doing for a long time, and even the capture-based systems. We capture animals in real life, man. So it's like, so now what are you? Is this mechanic going to go into fishing games now? So we can't have Pro Bass no more because I'm using a fishing pole goal to capture this monster, quote unquote, this fish out of the sea. So now all those games are going to be Nintendo games now, I guess. Like, I don't know, like, how that inherently would end up working, and I think that is a very negative ground to trend versus Nintendo just pulling their pants up and say, you know what, we just need to show people why Pokemon is what it is.
Exactly. That's what needs to happen still. Like, competition, right? Breeds better services, better games for the consumer. Nintendo doesn't see things like that.
Exactly.
No.
That's been my problem with both Sony and Nintendo on that standpoint of these are hardware-based companies who have had their pulse in their hearts in gaming for such a long time, but seem to lean on being as lazy as freaking possible to not innovate within their spaces when they have these special IPs. Again, there is, when you get into a Pokemon game, you know, I not necessarily make fun of turn-based games, but turn-based games just aren't for me anymore, right? And had not been for a very long time. Pokemon is still one of the games that when I get into it, still ropes me back in somehow, right? So that just should show you the power. So it's just so weird that they continue to rest on their laurels like this. That they would even, again, I think it's extremely embarrassing that they would even want to chase Palworld on this to get anything from it. It's like you're purposely trying to, if anything, close down a development studio for what? Because they took something and innovated on what you wouldn't, that you took 30 years to do something with. Like,
and they weren't planning on changing it anytime soon.
Yeah,
they would. I can almost guarantee that. Now I don't know when this Pokemon game is coming up. I don't know when they started working on that. I'm sure it's been in development for a while. But listen. They saw a future that they didn't create and didn't like it when they saw Power. Wait a minute, hold up. What is all this running around 3D stuff? All this like cool shit. What is this?
So stupid, bro.
It's silly.
And they did it in Pokemon Stadium. They did it like they'll have examples in other games, but they won't do it to their main line. And then people, again, to Paul's point, people lap it up. Like, it's so funny to me that Nintendo gets completely excused out of the conversation, and we're just supposed to be able to take what that is. And again, it's become a childlike system.
Exactly.
It has become that. And the only reason they stepped back into the light is because of what they did with the Wii, taking advantage of, and again, Nintendo's very smart, combining their two markets, right? They have been innovative in this space, but not innovative with their software. And that's what's kind of
and you know what sucks, and I love the fact that you brought this up, because Sony and Nintendo are terrible. They have something that Xbox probably almost may or may never have, right? Like, and that's a strong extreme, like that's that brand loyalty that Sony and Nintendo get to kind of have. That's something that you build over time, and Xbox has it too, not nearly to the degree that the other two do. That's the hard thing to get. Right, the games and everything else, you guys can do that, but they don't. Like you said, it's lazy. Like, Nintendo does not want to innovate at all. Like I said, Pokemon is one of the largest franchises on the planet. It's one of the most recognizable franchises on the planet, and you're out here in 2024 giving out Pokemon games that could be played on 10-year-old cell phones. Like, what does that? And then you turn around and a company that's doing something, and once again, outside of the monsters and the Pokeballs and all of that, it's more like Arc than Pokemon. The crafting, the base building, you can't do any of that shit in Pokemon. You never have, probably never will.
Yeah.
So, like, where is the similarities outside of the ball? Like,
I mean, again, it comes down to you cracking down on game mechanics versus you really more so chasing the thing that other people were more so concerned with, was you copying monsters, pixel for pixel, which again has been proven that that's not what the case is either. Again, there are similarities, just like Pokemon took similarities from Dragon Quest from back in the day. It's just like they took from Monster Rancher back in the day. Like, there is just so many. there's just so many examples of similarities to certain things that like it's hard to go to stand on that laurel, but I believe that they may even bring some of those things into it as well. So it's just I haven't seen many people holding Nintendo.
Oh, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
And again, I've seen people who've been like, oh, Palworld, who's still playing that? Kind of energy kind of going on. So
that's crazy.
I don't know, man. Hopefully it turns out really good for Pocket Pair, and they're able to keep developing. Again, if it were me, if I were Nintendo, I'd be looking at Pocket Pair like, hey, how do we get these guys in house? So when we get the Switch 2, that's going to be one of our biggest games that we can launch on that console.
There's no way they would put that next to a Pokemon game, bro. They're not. I get it.
This is my thing.
Vaughn, you got to help me out with this. Vaughn, trying to tell him that's not going to happen, bro.
Why is it so? I mean,
he knows.
I know they don't. They don't want their Pokemon to get shot and stuff like that. But there are things and crossovers that can be done from other games that they don't involve either. So it's just like the whole exclusive thing is just so limiting to what can actually happen, the potential of things. And man. So anyway.
No. And I got a question. I know we're gonna talk about this a little bit longer, but I got a question for you and Pong as well. Just so you guys can piggyback off of this. So say for instance, right? Obviously, this is happening. They've already issued the suit. All of that stuff, right? They're going into litigation. What's best case scenario and worst case scenario for Pocket Pair? So Pong, what's so just from your knowledge, like best case scenario, worst case scenario?
Well, I mean, obviously, best case scenario is it gets thrown out, right? I mean, best case scenario, and I don't know how the courts work over there, right? Because this is happening in Japan, so that's even a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Corey was saying if it was happening here, it would just get thrown out.
Oh no,
out easy, that's why they're not doing it here because they know they're gonna get laughed out of court. But yeah, so I mean, I guess best case would be that the Japanese courts say, no, there's no foundation for this patent, and this patent is so simplistic as far as game mechanics go that we can't rule in your favor, Nintendo, because obviously there would be huge ramifications, right? That
the Japanese court, they've overturned, they did it one time where they overturned, I can't remember the company, I did read it.
Okay.
They have overturned a dumbass patent before, one that was already in place. They threw it out. So I can't. I have to do I'll send you the link when I can find it. I literally was reading it yesterday, and they've done it one time before. They thought they said it was so like bare bones. It was so basic that they're like, why did this even get approved in the first place? So maybe they do have the capacity to look at it that way. At least I hope.
Yeah, I hope so too. And you've read more than me then, if you even saw something like that. So that's cool. So that would obviously be best case. Worst case would be that they probably can't sell the game in the East if it becomes something where because like Steele said, if they're given the opportunity to change the mechanic some way, if there's like some agreement where they can change it to something that Nintendo says, okay, that's different enough that we're not going, that's fine. Yeah. Okay, well, that'd be cool too, right? Obviously, it would still cost them some money, cost them some time, blah, blah, blah. But I guess worst case scenario is that they would have to pull the game from the East, right? Yeah. Where or at least in Japan, where they lost the lawsuit, and they would not be able to sell it there, right?
That would be bad, yeah.
It'd be bad, but they got a ton of players everywhere else.
Oh, yeah.
So it'd still be viable. It'd still be something they could.
It's a Western game.
It's definitely more of a Western game for sure. Right. So I think that's the worst case scenario. Obviously, I don't know how bad it could possibly get. Obviously, like Steele said, I guess you could look at it like Pocket Pair doesn't have enough money to fight this full bore, and they give up and they shut down the entire game and say, we give up, right? And they move on to something else. So I guess that would also be worst case scenario. Because I think that Palworld, even though people like to, anybody who was against Palworld or who just wants to downplay Palworld, as people like to do with a lot of video games now, look at the the users right now and say, it's so far down. They've lost all these people.
Still 20,
it's
30,
still, that's what I was saying on Thursday. I'm like, this game has established itself. It's still high. And they're still doing updates, and they're still planning all these expansions, and they're still doing all this stuff that's going to bring people back. Palworld's kind of like, I'm not going to say like it's like some great franchise, but I'm just saying it's generated enough buzz where it's kind of a household name in the video game industry. Like if you say Palworld, a lot of people know what you're talking about now. Yeah. So I think it's got a place. Yeah. It obviously is pushing Game Freak and Pokemon and Nintendo to do something different.
We hope.
Right? We hope, but again, from what we've seen, like I think that they have to take notice of this, PTK. Yeah. Like they have to. Like they're again, the reason why they didn't have to before is because they had such a monopoly on it. So when somebody does take this much inspiration from your game, right? Mm-hmm. And people can say copying or whatever, it doesn't matter. When somebody puts out a game that is a lot like yours, but does all this other stuff, if you want to, because the next Pokemon that comes out, if it doesn't have a lot of the things that Palworld introduced, people are going to be looking at it going, but why? This little company could do it. Why can't you do? Like, it's the noise level and the disgruntledness is going to continue to rise, even if everybody goes out like Steele said and like I said, just complains but slaps down their credit card for the next Pokemon. That noise is going to get a little bit louder about what are you doing with Pokemon? Why aren't you giving us this stuff that we want? And again, it's not like everybody's clamoring for Pokemon to run around, run around with guns and shit. Like that was completely off the wall. No, it was not that at all. That was a whole unique Palworld thing.
We need to get Pokemon a Glock.
Yeah. Right, that's not what Andy was asking for, but just opening up the game more and obviously performance-wise and bringing the game up to speed. So I think I think Palworld deserves to continue to live no matter what, and I hope that, even if it does come down to a fact that they can't sell it in Japan or whatever the case may be, that they continue on with it. Like Steele said, it is more of a Western game. It's got a lot of fans everywhere. So hopefully they'll do that. But that's my best case, worst case.
Yeah. And I was thinking too, like before I get to you, still like the money thing is a problem for me because Nintendo's such a big company and they're gonna fight this in litigation as long as they want to because they can. And Palworld and Pocket Pair cannot. So that's my worst case scenario is that, like you said, they run out of money or it doesn't become financial. They're not financially able to keep fighting in court and they have to either negotiate or like you said, shut it down, you know what I mean? Or something along those lines. So I do worry about that as well, too. Because, Nintendo traditionally, based on their track record, they're going to fight this as long as they need to. They're not the type to, like, usually when they say we're going to take you to court, they're really taking you to court. It's not some threat or anything like that. They're really going to do it. So I don't really think they're going to just all of a sudden change their mind. Like, you know what? We're just gonna go ahead and we'll rescind that. We're not gonna go to court about this. So they're gonna continue to push. And that worries me. You know what I mean? But still, worst case scenario, best case scenario.
Yeah, man. I mean, worst case scenario is 100% that they have to shut down. I mean, I just look at it from more so the aspect of, Pocket Pair wasn't expecting the success that they got out of this game, and there isn't a recurring fee that they're getting from anybody in this game outside of the initial purchase. And I know that the server side of things, they're not necessarily having to take care of, but I do know that they are partnering up with the server companies so that people can have access to Palworld and that it's all compatible and it works and everything. And that takes time and resources and effort, right?
They work directly with, I believe, Xbox directly when they
so you're paying Xbox for the servers that you can get through Azure, right? We do know that keeping them servers up does cost money, and I do fear that it's going to get to a point where they're going to have to close down the servers and it's going to become more of a local play or co-op kind of thing where peer-to-peer kind of thing, where you can only play it with your friends, which would be extremely unfortunate for a game as unique as Palworld is, man. Just the diversity that the game has, the different options that it brings. And I would just love to see instead, for the positive side, for maybe Pokemon through court dealings or whatever, they come to a heel and say, hey, you know what? Let's sit down. We'll pay you guys a little bit of money. We'll have you guys sit in on our next Pokemon game, and maybe you give us some ideas of how we can make this thing better, right? And everybody wins in the end. That's what I would like to see, right? That's what we would hope for. That's the white picket fence kind of dream that I have, that I wish that more of these devs would do, because at the end of the day, Pocket Pair is a third party developer, bro. Like, they don't have a publisher outside of the partnership that they have with Microsoft to sit here and fight with Nintendo. Which again, and Nintendo's fighting for Game Freak technically, which I can guarantee you, I don't think Game Freak is necessarily cares about this, right? So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Negative side that they have to shut it down, and then positive side is that maybe they get some critique from them and see what they can do to implement some of those new things, new mechanics, base building, cities, however Pokemon decides to do it. Because again, I feel like the next logical step for Pokemon is that open world, very similar to Arceus, where or even Monster Hunter, if you want to put it in that aspect, but of course more Pokemon style. But really making it that next level of what a true JRPG could be. Again, that is the next biggest MMO to blow up, right? If somebody brought out a Pokemon MMO, would take over the globe, bro. Everybody
absolutely.
would be playing that third person, and make it extremely interactable. So that's what I'm hoping to get out of it. But that's I don't see any white knights in this scenario. I only see the evil of Nintendo. So
absolutely. So we're gonna wrap that up there. But I had to get that off my chest, chat, man. Shout out to everybody watching. Yobi, Decado, everybody. I know Slow Mo was in here. Shout out to everybody. Appreciate you guys. Retweet that link. Let everybody know the shop is live. But yeah, man, we had to get that. I had to get that off my chest. I've been holding that in all week still in Pong. I've been really, really wanting to talk about that. So I'm glad we're able to get into it, man. So we're gonna move on. We talk a little bit of Sony stuff too. We probably gonna run the gamut. This is one of the first shows in a while where we're probably gonna talk about all three here. So we don't usually get that type of news every week. Usually it's, one of the three or two of the three. But I want to talk a little bit about Sony in the current state, just where you guys think Sony's at, where do you think they're going? And just to give you guys a point of reference here too, just, some of the type of years Sony's had. There's been some successes. You got things like Helldivers. You got some other things that they've had successes. Although I don't give them a whole lot of credit for Helldivers. I mean, they did help, right? I think didn't they help fund that game, I believe?
Yeah.
So they did help.
Technically, Arrowhead's technically not a first party, but let's be real. They're close.
The only two games they've ever made,
they're all Sony. So I mean, again, they help fund it.
They help fund it. So they had a big part in that. So that was a huge success. But we're looking. It's been a low high. It's been a very roller coaster year, right? You go from that, you roll right into like this, the PS5 Pro. Obviously, the price. There you have Concord. Obviously, that was probably the biggest flop in the last 10, 15 years. I would argue, based on the expectations, and now we know the amount of money that was spent on it, which makes it even
Concord?
crazier.
One of the biggest flops of all time. It's got to be the biggest flop of all time. Easy.
It's the biggest embarrassment of all time.
Biggest embarrassment for PlayStation, hands down.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then obviously they continue, and I'm gonna keep bringing this up until we see something different. They continue to struggle, and they're inept at making a live service multiplayer game. It's like a Rubik's Cube to them. I don't know why they can't do it, but I've always suspected that this is not what you get, but this is what happens when you ignore it for 20 years and say, we don't need those kind of games. Matter of fact, those kind of games aren't even good games, Pong. We're going to tell our fans those kind of games aren't good. Those games don't win any awards. They don't sell to 20 million copies in the first month. But it's crazy to see the roller coaster. On top of that, we got the state of play this week. We got rumors about that. That's probably not going to be a whole lot of first party stuff. It might be a bunch of indie stuff, might be a bunch of third party stuff. They haven't looked or really been moving around like the Sony that we expect. We do a lot of predictions on this show, Pong. And every time we talk about Sony, I don't even know anymore what they're going to do. There are things that I just know that they used to do. I can feel it. They used to take advantage of certain situations. They moved a certain way. I don't know anymore. The last 3-4 years, they've been moving sideways. So we're gonna start with you on this one, Steele. Just as the year's gone for Sony, what are your expectations going forward? Like the state of play is coming up, everything that's been going on, the live service stuff. Where you at with PlayStation?
I'm still on an extremely steep hill with them, man, on a negative path. I don't particularly have a interest in anything that they're doing moving into the future, and they're continuing to give me reasons why I should not be interested in them moving into the future. God of War is not going to be a game for me moving forward, at least in the current game style that it is now. And it's crazy because you would think fantasy elements, the type of combat that it has in there, that I would be interested in some of that, right? But I'm just not seeing enough of the creativity that I would want out of their games. And since I'm more multiplayer centric as well, seeing the mishaps that they continue to make with those and straight denials of other IP that they could have been fostering this entire time, is where I have been questioning Sony for quite some time. Right. There has been titles that they have had. So you go, SOCOM, Uncharted, Last of Us, there's been other multiplayer titles that they have had and decided not to flourish for whatever reason. And again, one of them they put 5 years of dev time into, which again, everything's so expensive, but we could throw
came
away
in and said, nah.
I mean, and again, at this point, with everything that we're hearing about Bungie, I really hope that wasn't the case, right?
That's actually the biggest L that they've taken. If we being honest, depending on how Bungie bounces back, they're still a great company, but they even said it themselves in the document. They overpaid for that company, and they haven't really seen a return on their investment yet.
Yeah, I mean, that is a huge L for them, but that's something that they're going to be able to work through. Bungie, if they're able to turn it around with Marathon, that could be their winning go and could last for them for some time. And again, Bungie is still going to be the name until proven otherwise, right? Just because I fell off because of PvP type things, multiplayer type things, doesn't mean those people that were there for the PvE may not move over. I don't think they will. Again, those people weren't playing the PvP, so why would they play the PvP version of their next game? So, things aren't seemingly leading into the right direction. But, for me, it's becoming more and more of a lost cause because I don't have necessarily a reason to invest in the ecosystem.
Yeah. No roadmap. That's another thing too. That's very the
roadmap hurts for sure.
Yeah,
I think the roadmap does not having a roadmap hurts, but I think even if they had a roadmap, I don't think it would help my decision of where my interest would lie. And the way that things are going with games going multi-platform, me being in multiple ecosystems, more games coming to PC as well. The type of gamer that I am today, extending it beyond the console, there's too many options out there now for me to find any interest in that. But I do think that people should start questioning Sony more on what their true vision is for the future. Because again, you can sell all the consoles that you want, but you're not selling the software. Final Fantasy is an IP that is supposedly known under PlayStation. I mean, again, every time that I say it, PlayStation is the first thing that ever comes up into my mind. And that just has not done well for them on a marketing standpoint. They haven't sold more copies. Matter of fact, it's only done worse. It's only hurt Final Fantasy as an IP worse. Those games need to be everywhere. I think the audience is speaking, right? God of War, sure, it's going to sell copies, and it's selling copies on PC. People are touting the numbers of the 30,000 people that are playing God of War. But again, you beat that game, people are going to be asking on the other side, hey, why is there only 8 people playing this game now, or 1,000 people, whatever the number ends up being, right? So you're not keeping people in your ecosystem. And just because they tacked on a roguelite mode on the end of the game, sure, you might get an extra additional 10 hours or whatever the case, but that is not what the future is asking from you. The future is asking from you, what are you going to do to keep people involved in your ecosystem? Foam Stars wasn't going to do it for you. That's going to probably end up coming to Xbox as well, because they're going to need to recoup the cost on that game. There's just so many L's that have been consistently been taking. I mean, if you think about it, if you had the Spider-Man multiplayer possibly in development, and again, from what they showed us, it was, being put together, Factions being in development for as long as it was. And again, The Last of Us is not a cheap franchise to work on or an IP to work on. Now you're talking about Concord that was in development for 8 years. 6 of those were not technically under Sony, but Sony felt the necessity to spend another $200 million. And even at that point said that nobody can speak negatively on the game.
That's crazy.
We're so caught up in thinking that this game was going to be the Star Wars for them. I think that spells a very negative path for Sony as a hardware company, right? A company that is going to be extremely dependent on their software sales, who has an audience that is showing them that their people are not going to, that they're not enough, right? So I have a lot of questions for that. I don't think a roadmap is going to do anything. Them releasing more remasters in this game and that game.
That's another thing too. The one, the Days Gone, I believe was
Days Gone and Horizon Zero Dawn.
Horizon, yes.
You bring in Horizon Zero Dawn back with Forbidden West assets. Look, that sounds cute, bro. But again, Horizon Zero Dawn wasn't a bad looking game. Why are you spending money even doing that? And again, the only thing that makes sense to me is that they didn't have to spend a lot of money doing it. And that's why they're re-releasing it. Because again, I'm telling you, they probably upscaled the assets to similar to how they are on PC and are now giving you a version that is similar to that. But it is, if you are transferring over assets and stuff, bro, why are you spending your money doing that? Why not foster some of the things that you have under your umbrella? If Concord failed, hey, let's send Firewalk to Bungie and get that PvP together, because something needs to happen. Either Marathon needs to be the best game that we've ever played, which again, you making bets on the best game
that's
ever.
That's an uphill battle. Bungie has its own battles to fight right now. They got their own community that's you know what I mean, that's pushing back on a lot of things that they're doing.
And Bungie has proven that they can't support PvP either.
Yeah.
Again, there's 2 games that they've done this with, and you want me to believe that all of a sudden under Sony, they're going to take the PvP that left Destiny 2 after almost 2 to 3 years of that game being out to work on Marathon. You think that it never shown support. You think I'm supposed to have faith in that team now? And they don't even know what they want their own game to be? That's getting conflicting information still. So it's just, I don't know, man.
Very un-Sony like, bro. The fact that we're talking like this about PlayStation is what gets me.
But I'm a heretic, though, BTK. I'm the heretic. They got all the good games.
There you
games
go.
In their service.
There you go, right? But it's just interesting to see, and once again, this is healthy. This is healthy for the industry, right? You see what toxic positivity gets you? So, but anyway, I'm just being silly. But yeah, this is healthy. This is healthy for Sony, healthy for everybody. And we got to be objective about these things. Sony has not had a good year objectively. They've had some successes along the way, and they get praise for those successes every single time. But we got to make sure we understand and put everything in a context. They have not had a good year. This year is about as bad as 22 for Xbox. The dry year Xbox had where they didn't really have anything going on the first party. Same exact things going on with Sony currently. So, and then like you said, the way they're moving, how they're going, everything's so uncertain still. Everything's like, well, I don't really know. And that's very un-Sony. Like, they generally do a very good job at laying things down and making sure their fan base knows what's coming up and what you can expect. And they lean on the quality. They lean on the brand strength. They're not even doing that. Like, anytime that something negative happens, the next thing that they do is, well, let's make sure we throw out a custom console or we're going to make sure we let people know we sold another 10 million consoles. Like, that's how they fix the PR issue rather than just actually making or doing what their consumers want them to do. So it's a bit strange how they're moving. But Paul, let me throw this over to you, brother. We talk about this, and like I said, we're pretty good at being objective about this. But by all intents and purposes, what we expect from Sony, we hold them in just as high as a regard as Xbox and Nintendo. You still have to deliver. Brand strength only goes for so much, Paul. Brand strength doesn't make games. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, we've had these conversations over the past about year and a half now. We knew this was coming, right? Their chamber's empty, and then when they,
I didn't even believe you guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. I used to push back when we had these conversations a year and a half ago. I didn't really think that was the case. But once again, I'm not reading the tea leaves apparently.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at when they shifted focus to games as a service. They really shot themselves in the foot because they didn't just say, okay, we're gonna do whatever it was, 10, 12 games within a matter of 4 or 5 years, whatever Jim's ultimate goal was. They didn't just do that and have a bunch of, smaller teams or smaller groups working on these games as a service. They had their main teams outside of Insomniac working on these games. They had the main force of Naughty Dog working on Factions 2, trying to get that together, right? Or whatever they're going to call it, Last of Us Online, I guess.
Same thing with Ben.
Same thing with Ben. They did have a part of Insomniac, obviously working on the Spider-Man games as a service. We don't know what else, who was working on for sure. Twisted Metal, that supposedly was in the works. We don't know what else was canceled behind the scenes, right?
We don't know what they're doing.
We do. I mean, it's fair games. It's coming. Yeah. They're gonna launch that sucker too. But, so when they did that shift of focus, it really they were already kind of under the gun because they had released everything, and we already had seen the remasters and the remakes start, right? We had already seen them starting to fill gaps. Yes, we've got, Spider-Man 2, they got God of War Ragnarok out the door, they got the Ratchet and Clank out the door.
But they're good at those games. They can do that all day.
Well, they can, but the problem being is that what I'm saying is that we knew that they were light, right? That the games, because they take so long, because of the dev teams that they have, like your Naughty Dog, which took almost 7 years to develop Ragnarok. The Last of Us 2. It took over 1,000 people total. They had to bring in extra companies to help support that game, right? All of that. You've got these companies, yes, they make fantastic games, but now we are in the same problem that Hiroki talked about. Games take too long and cost too much to do continuously, right? But this has already started years and years ago. This was already happening years and years ago. It's just that they finally admitted what was going on, but you also had this split where they decided to break off and start doing games as a service because that was going to be the new gold mine to support these single-player experiences. Well, that all failed. Right, that started coming crashing down before it even really got started when they figured out, oh, wait, it costs a lot of money in upkeep.
We got to keep this thing going?
Wait. So games as a service means you actually have to continuously give content and you have to have devs continuously work on them? Oh, wait, we didn't really understand this concept. Or at least Jim didn't and Herman didn't. And all of a sudden we, did a 180 again.
Did Phil Harrison make his way over to PlayStation?
Somebody did. So yeah, we kind of knew this is the chamber. Now, I certainly, didn't expect them to go this long without a massive hopes and dreams showcase, right? I've been calling and saying that this was going to happen, right? Again, no insider here, just speculation town. But I've been saying for a while now that this hopes and dreams was coming because they do have stuff in the works. They got a lot in the works. Just like when people were talking about Xbox, oh, they got nothing. They got no games, blah, blah, blah. And we sat on these shows and we were like, what the hell are you guys talking about? They're making freaking games. It's only a matter of time. The same for Sony. They're making a lot of games right now. There's a lot of new IP coming, right? Again, there's a lot of stuff we do know that's happening that's eventually going to come. But to not have a hopes and dreams showcase, to not tease Ghosts of Tsushima 2, to not tease Wolverine on the PlayStation 5 Pro,
Cory Barlog's
just
game.
Announced, to not tease Cory Barlog's new game, whatever that is, to not tease obviously something that Naughty Dog's got going on. They've got The Last of Us 3 and they've got the other rumored new IP going on as well. Those things are teasable, and I'm saying this old Sony came out and did that. They did the hopes and dreams. They sold an entire PS4 generation based upon that and then delivered. So I was expecting that, especially around the time that the PS5 Pro was going to be showing off. I was like, oh, shit, this is an easy sell. I mean, if you're going to come out with a new console, you got to have your own first-party games there.
That's what we predicted. That's what
right, none of that happened.
Yeah.
None of that happened outside of the PS5 Pro showing up with a $700 price tag and you using awful third-party games to showcase that, right? You didn't even use the big third-party games. I mean, again, Hogwarts is a big game, but the screens you showed didn't do a whole hell of a lot, especially since it was still 30 frames. I was expecting Cyberpunk. I was expecting all these big games to really showcase what this could do. They had none of that, and you don't have any teases for your first-party games going.
And you made it $6.99.
Right, and you made it $6.99. So Sony is in a rut. There is no doubt about it. They got rid of Jim, right? But still one of the main problems, to Steele's point that he's been putting out posts about on X constantly, and this is something that we already talked about, Steele and I had talked about previously, and we've talked about on other shows. Herman is still a problem. And I don't know why everybody wants to excuse Herman here. Herman has been in charge of PlayStation Studios for long enough time now that a lot of these games, including Concord, are his babies, okay? Jim might have been the man who gave the marching orders, but Herman's the one behind the scenes going, oh, hell yeah. Concord, Star Wars potential here. This is the future of PlayStation.
He's there right now.
And he's there right now. And now he is the head. And that is something that I've pointed out many times. Herman does not get a pass on this shit just because Jim was above him. He was in charge of these studios. He was the one, he's the actual more gamer than Jim, who is actually going to the studios and going, oh yeah, I can see your vision. Right? It's not Jim walking in there, right? Jim's the guy cutting the checks. Jim's the guy that's giving the overall goals for the company as PlayStation goes. So yeah, he set them in this direction, but Herman's the one greenlighting these projects. Herman's the one saying, oh, these projects got potential. Oh my God, Concord is so damn good at $400 million that we can go ahead and cancel The Last of Us Online Factions 2. We can go ahead and cancel that freaking cool-ass looking Spider-Man MMO. We don't need that shit. We need those teams working on their single player. Concord's going to carry everything. Like, again, I don't know how that's all went down, but that's what it feels like happened here. So now you got a giant rut, and now you got Hiroki Totoki, the CFO of Sony Corp, who, from the East, is the voice, the eyes, the ears, the mouth of that board, who has been kind of cut out for a long time with Jim, now getting back control. And you got Hiroki in there as CFO, money guy through and through, walking through your studios going, you guys are creative, but you suck at business. I'm about to take the reins back again. And that's what he's doing right now. So they are going to be light in the first party games for a while. They are filling those spots with more remasters, more remakes. It's a joke, but it's what they're going to do. They're going to continue to cut deals like Black Myth Wukong, like Stellar Blade, to fill some of the other spots. They just lost Square, so now they're going to have to go find new ones. They got the China project. That's probably in response to Square telling them, hey, go after yourselves. Your deals suck for us. We're going to do this.
I know. I think about that too, Pong. They're not even...
I saw potentially from one of the devs over there that the China project that he's working on is not in good shape because they're not supporting him with money. But I'm just saying, in general, again, if that comes out to be true, that'll be a whole nother topic. But they are trying to cut deals, right, to fill in the holes in the meantime. But we got to see a showcase. Excuse me. We got to see a showcase. This no roadmap. These remakes and remasters,
crazy.
Like, it would be fine. Like I said on Thursday night.
Between the stuff that everybody else wants.
Or if you had a direct roadmap for what your first party is actually doing and what people are going to be playing. And like I said all along, this is and again, I don't care about the clown show and the circus. They've been put in their place, and now everybody knows that they're just a bunch of hypocrites and they just continuously move goalposts. It doesn't matter. They're a joke, okay? So I don't really care about that. But this was the argument that I always had, was when people, if you want to say 2022 was awful for Xbox, that's fine. It was. We criticized it the hell out of it from first party. But again, nobody gave credit to the Game Pass deals, right? At all. But those goalposts have been moved. But the difference between Sony and Xbox in these ruts is that Xbox still was having a massive showcase every single year, showing us what was coming. Now, not everything panned out. There certainly was delays that caused some issues, but we still knew what games were coming. And even all the freaking clowns that wanted to say they got no games, we all said, yeah, we do. Look at all the stuff that we've seen already. Doesn't matter to us. We've seen trailers. We know it's coming. Eventually, the avalanche will get here, and that's what we're in the middle of right now, or the start of right now. This year is the start of that avalanche from Xbox. But we always had that from them. Sony has not had the major showcases. Their last showcase was a year and a half ago, right? And
it wasn't good.
No, Concord was the main go. Like, again. Yeah. And so that's the difference between the two, and that's what's strange. This is not my PlayStation either. This is not my PlayStation of PS1, PS2, or PS3, and not even PS4 when they gave us hopes and dreams, right? This is not the PlayStation I know. This is a new realm for them because they're trying to correct course into the future, and they are unsure how to do it. Whereas Microsoft has been playing for a long time at this. So
remember what we said, and I'm glad you brought that up, because we talked about this 2-3 years ago, even Paul. We mentioned this is the way things are going, and people talked about, oh, well, Xbox, and they're putting games everywhere else, and this Game Pass thing is sustainable. You guys are asking the wrong questions. You guys aren't looking at where things were. We're headed this way anyway, regardless of what Xbox is doing. Tech in general is headed this way. You know what I mean? Correct. So you guys have to understand that boat, that Sony boat, that's a big boat. It's hard to turn that boat around and in a pinch when something like Game Pass shows up. You know what I mean? When people start changing the way they consume games, they had done things a certain way for so long. They have a very, very rigid structure. So when you're making,
it's the money more than anything that eventually PlayStation
is now complacency.
Well, and a little bit of complacency, right? Yeah. I've always said that they painted themselves in this corner by what you were talking about, PTK.
Yeah, the multiplayer thing. Just ignore it.
Right, where they convinced their entire player base that the only premium experience was the first-party, single-player, third-person, narrative, action, over-the-shoulder game. When they convinced everybody that cinematic experience was the only true premium experience out there from video games because, oh, God, it took the longest to make, it was the most expensive, it was movie-like quality, they painted themselves with their own customers into this corner, because now when you try to reintroduce ideas like a Concord, they literally had most of their fan base, except for their most ardent people, capping for Concord like it was the best thing since sliced bread. Most of their fan base about, this is not what we want. We want our first party. You saw it time and time again. We want the single player. Where's our single player game? No, we don't want this multiplayer stuff. What are you guys trying to do to us? This is not what we play over here, right? And so that is something they did, but ultimately it's about the money. When they lost control, when they created these teams, and these teams got so big and unwieldy, and the same type of games, again, just look at what Spider-Man 1 costs versus Spider-Man 2 versus the projected Spider-Man 3 costs. And those teams getting big and unwieldy in these projects, wasting money and resources and time in development. There is no way that Spider-Man 2, for the game that it came out as, and I'm just talking high levels way back, because again, I played Spider-Man 2018 for, 10, 15 hours, whatever I played it for on PlayStation 4, and found out it wasn't for me, but I understood why people liked it. So I'm just saying, I have not played Spider-Man 2, but just from watching videos and from watching how people describe it and how people talk about it after it's been done and over with, there is no reason Insomniac spent that much money on a sequel and took that much time, which again was fast, right, comparatively speaking, but still, with basically the entire city done already, again, with no addition of co-op, even though we all thought that co-op should be in there, and it looked like the game was made for co-op, but it looks like they stripped it, right? Because they were working on that MMO, and because they needed to get it out fast, right? But there is no reason why Spider-Man 2 should have cost what it cost when you already had the initial game done with 2018 Spider-Man. And I don't have to know the nitty-gritty details of the cost of development work to not understand that you could have probably had half the team size create that same game, right, if it was efficient. But that's the problem. I'm using that as an example. When they lost control of the efficiency, and this isn't just a PlayStation thing, this is the industry that we're talking about here, because we hear it from all these developers and publishers talking about how these games are out of control, the costs are out of control, time unsustainable. Well, that's going to impact Sony even more, PlayStation, because that's their forte. That is their only meal that they really know how to cook. And yes, I know they make other things, but what I'm saying is that's what their main meal is for their consumers. That's going to hit them the hardest. They don't have an ESO, right, pulling down $2 billion a year on the side, right? $15 million
a month or something like that, I believe. Yeah,
it's $2 billion a year.
Yeah,
okay,
it's insane.
It's a 1.5 to $2 billion in revenue a year for ESO, right? That's revenue. It's not profit, but it's revenue. But still, they don't have those types of games, right? And so when you don't, that's where Hiroki steps in and goes, okay, well, you guys are great. You're very creative, but 6-7 years to create a $200-300 million game. like that investment and waiting for the returns isn't worth it. It's not sustainable to us, and that's why they find themselves stuck here trying to switch roles or trying to add, these games as a service, add monetization, find their way to mobile, and continue their expansion in PC because they're out. The financial costs are too much. They're crumbling underneath the weight of these teams and these games, and that's the difference now. Whereas, you could say Xbox hasn't had the success. You can say that obviously they've been in third place. That's why they've done everything that they've done the way they've done it. But it's all the preparation work that they've done. It's the diversity of the lineup that is now kicking in for Xbox that allows them to now supposedly go spend $1 billion a year to bring games into Game Pass.
When you build that moat, we've been talking. How long have we been talking about the moat? I know we use that as an example, but that's part of it, right? The variety, going out doing. Obviously buying Activision Blizzard King was massive. Getting Bethesda was massive. Makes sense, but also having the understanding of, okay, this game isn't big right now, but we see 5 years from now where this thing could be. We're going to support your vision. We understand it's only 15 of you guys. Grounded was made by 12 people. Right? Sea of Thieves was nothing for the first year and a half it was out. It was fairly bare bones, but they saw the vision and they said, okay, this is traditionally Xbox is very good at supporting those types of games going forward, especially when the team's passionate. And if the game doesn't even work, they've allowed games. Look at what's the game that people always talk about, the Obsidian game, I think it was Obsidian. What game was that? Shoot, I can't even think of the name of the damn game. But it was a
Oh, you're talking about Grounded, right?
No, not Grounded. Not Grounded. No, was it Obsidian? I might be thinking of a different dev at Xbox. But it was a game that they just put out, and it was okay, but it wasn't. But Xbox supported the idea. And the game ran forever was going to go, and Sony would never do anything like that, and that's an issue. Like you said, they painted themselves in a corner. They've relied on the same strategy when the market was clearly changing. They didn't take Game Pass seriously, so they didn't start on that early. They can't really. They don't have the facilities to do the cloud stuff on their own. At least they got to pay for that. So there's a whole lot of things that they got to think about here in the future, Paul.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and let me correct myself. I realized what I was saying. ESO has made about $2 billion overall over the past 10 years, not yearly. So I shouldn't say that.
Got it. Yeah,
no. It's about 180 million. It's about 180 million a year.
16 million a month.
It's like 100. It's like 180 million a year, right?
Still crazy. It's
still crazy. Yeah. And again, that's just one game. But these are the strategic acquisitions they went out and bought. Now, Sony has made some acquisitions, right? They made some really good acquisitions, right? But they haven't made the strategic acquisitions necessarily to bring them this type of game. And I've said this all along, that once the shift started happening to actually when the ecosystems, right, and all these video game people started understanding that keeping people playing in your ecosystem, right, having people be entrenched in long-term gaming, that results in more money. At the end of the day, Sony, while they had great games, had sales, they didn't have people sticking around in their ecosystems continuously day after day with the potential to drop that money in about 10 different games. They didn't have that. They got the one and dones that we talked about. And that's fine. That's a part of the gaming industry. You got to have those too, and you can have great success. And those are, generally speaking, your games of the year. Those are the ones that get all the flowers and bring you prestige and all that kind of stuff. That is, right? That whether it should be or not be doesn't matter. It's the reality of the situation. Those are the games that attract that type of attention. You got to have those too. But they didn't have any of the other stuff because they relied on third parties for all of the PS4 generation to do the dirty work for them and cut deals with, obviously, places like Activision for Call of Duty that filled that role. Well, when those started drying up, when Microsoft opened up the war chest and started buying up certain big publishers like ZeniMax and now Activision Blizzard, well, then they were caught flat-footed. And they didn't have a way to shift instantaneously, and you don't shift to PC and mobile just with a snap of your fingers. You don't shift just to games as a service and monetizing your games with a snap of your fingers. That's not how it works when you've been doing something for over a generation, and that's the only thing that you've become good at this point. Again, they've got the IP, they've got the potential to do that shift, But again, Jim's idea of throwing 12 spitballs at the wall and see which one sticks,
crazy.
Probably not the best idea.
Crazy.
And that's why Hiroki came in and said, yeah, Jim, we're going to give you cookies. Go ahead and head on out that door. Yep, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to nix a lot of these projects. Yeah. Concord, $400 million, 8 years. Well, I guess we got to push that one out the door and see what happens. But, yep, that's done too. We'll write that sucker off. They're in a very tough spot. Again, this isn't PlayStation's dying. They're not. They're going to come with the PlayStation 6. This is going to happen. They've got a lot of games in the works. In fact, I got a whole list of them. Mav and I went through it on Thursday. There is a whole list of games, whether that have been rumored and also that we know are in the works. They're going to be fine, but this is going to be a tighten the belt kind of situation, right? Period. Yeah. That's where they're at.
Yeah, facts. Still, anything else on this before we slide over to the next topic?
That's it, man. That's it for me.
Okay, all right.
Come on, Steele. This is Living Split Screen, man. We got to keep going, bro. We got 5 hours. Let's go. We got to fill this up. 5 hours
to lock in, right? No. But it's so ultimately at the end of the day, guys, we try and keep it objective here, and at the end of the day, objectively, that's where Sony's at least from our perspective. So. No shade. At the end of the day, Sony will recover. They will be fine. The games will come sooner. Well, later than sooner, probably this time around. But they will be okay ultimately. So I did want to shift gears here. We want to get a little bit of Xbox stuff. So not so much about Xbox's year. I really want to talk a little bit about the hardware and the plan going forward for that. Really specifically the next console and then the potential handheld. And I really just kind of want to see you guys' opinions and have they changed since the last time we talked about it. Obviously, we know. We're going to get some kind of winter event, not event, but something's going on in the winter. According to Sarah Bond, if that holds true, obviously timelines can change, things can change, decisions can change. But if that still holds true, we'll probably see something, whether it's a peek at the new console or a handheld this winter. So just where you guys at on that? Has that changed at all? You guys got the same? So we'll start with you, Steele.
As far as like hardware potentials and stuff like that.
Yeah, just kind of where Xbox is at. Obviously, this is uncharted territory. A handheld for them is something that I never actually thought they would actually even entertain for the longest period of time. I never thought that they would even think about doing that. So the fact that they, obviously, the fact that they're going to, I think I can say that probably more than likely are going to is very interesting. So I just want to see where you're at, on that, if that's something that you even going to think about picking up. I know a lot of it has to do with, how it performs in the hardware, but just where you're at in general, what Xbox is playing going forward.
Yeah, man. Xbox's plan I've had full confidence in since 2017. Honestly, I've just had confidence in this entire time. They haven't failed me, and Phil seems to be doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down on some of those strategies, and seemingly so. It seems like Sarah Bond might be even more little bit bullheaded than Phil may be, which I think plays into favor some of the things that Pong kind of speaks to, especially hearing some of the things about her being a little bit more bullish on certain things. Mm-hmm. Apparently it's rumored that she also is a little bit more bullish on exclusives and stuff like that as well. So it's just interesting to see that. But I do think that moving forward, if Xbox's strategy is going a route that is similar to Nintendo, or now, I'm not say now, the handheld PC market has been a thing for some time. The handheld PC market was also extremely expensive, right? Mm-hmm. It was right around $1,500 to $2,000 to get one of those types of devices in your hand, and you would still have to deal with not the greatest performance and a very terrible battery life. Ever since the Steam Deck has been released, I believe that has shown not only us as consumers, but I think it has also shown Xbox in this circumstance, or even the other publishers, that there is a device that you could tap back into, right? PlayStation did it before with the PSP, right? They even with the UMDs and all that good stuff, right? But now that we're moving more into the digital era, I think PlayStation maybe pulled out of some of that stuff too early, right? I think it would have been, how dope would it have been if in concept going into the PlayStation 5, instead of the PlayStation Portal that we got an all digital PlayStation handheld device that was Sure, you maybe needed to connect it to your PlayStation 5 one time, or whatever the case, however they would have worked that out. But it would have been an all digital device that you would have been able to access whatever games that you had bought on your console already on this device, but you could play it natively. Right? Yeah, it might have cost a little extra ducats, but there would have been so many cost-saving features that you could have been put in there, along with people being very likely to buy a device.
And you don't have the brand, you don't have the brand problem issue. You don't have that problem. Nobody's going to question.
It would have sold the device would have sold itself. If you would have said, "Hey, this is a PlayStation 5, but it's a handheld and it's digital and it's our first version of it." That would have been a device you could have iterated on top of and been like, hey, this is the next thing from the PlayStation Vita or whatever the case. And I never experienced the Vita. I only have experience with the PSP. So that's kind of my perspective on it. I think that would have put Sony in a much more opportune kind of situation than what they're kind of working through right now. And I think Xbox sees that, especially with, again, you get the Steam Deck, which is now you can get for under $300, which is that's just crazy to think about. You can still play some of the most modern games, and they're still good games, even if you take it as an emulation device more so than anything. It's the perfect device to do that. But even when you look into a ROG Ally or other devices of that echelon, the possibilities end up being endless. And if Microsoft can, in Xbox, can end up creating a device where it is much more console-like, again, pitching right into that Steam Deck kind of scenario, where that's the number one thing that why people say, hey, I'd rather get a Steam Deck than some of these other devices, because it is literally just pick up and play. You don't have to fiddle with nothing. They put out an update. You hit the update button, it updates the device, right? Whereas with the ROG Ally and those other devices, you still have to take those additional steps. And again, I know people will tell you, hey, well, it's not a big deal. PCs are easier than ever to use than before, and it's only a couple buttons that you got to tap nowadays.
But if you've been playing on consoles, it's hard to tell people that play on consoles. The ease of use is one of the big reasons why people play on consoles.
There is the average consumer that does not care about
they don't
you think is ease of use or not. Right? You want to make things as seamless as possible, especially, again, we're talking about people that don't know how to use half the capabilities in their modern phones, right? So, and you're expecting them to now understand how to use whatever device that you put out on the market. No, let's dumb it down. Let's make it easy to use. And I think Xbox has the perfect ecosystem to be able to do that between Game Pass and then also Steam. I can just see it being so easy to be able to swap between the two ecosystems, Steam being the main one as well, and being able to have access to a slew, all kinds of different titles, man. The possibilities end up being endless on that. I think that ends up being a great marketing tool for Xbox as well. And I think, people ask the question, well, how does Xbox going to sell their next console, even if it is this handheld like device, if they don't have any exclusives to sell? Ladies and gentlemen, like, how many devices do you have that are multi-use devices, right? Again, that's what makes PC gaming so great. It's a multi-use device. It's not just used for gaming. People who get PCs just for gaming, unless you just have a inept amount of money or just a buku amount of money to do those types of things, that is a dumb reason to buy a PC. Where some of that doesn't have to apply when you get some of these more so handheld gaming devices. That just kind of always just made sense for that to be the evolution of that hardware. So, man, that's kind of where I'm laying out with Xbox right now. I think that's the vision for them, to have this handheld kind of dockable device. That is going to be of probably Series S, maybe better quality, depending on how technology continues to move forward. Again, it's also hard to say what could happen within the next 6 months.
It really is
next breakthrough.
It really is. Good point. And I love the fact, and chat, this is something that I love the fact that we bring up here. One of the very few shows that we hit on all these points. And I love the fact you brought up still that the Xbox has positioned themselves. That's the key. Right? You got to position yourself to take advantage of these moments. Like something like a handheld, probably is the right time and place for Xbox to try and pull that off. Maybe 2-3 years ago, they weren't ready. You couldn't pull the trigger even, you know what I mean? They weren't ready. So right now is a really good time. Although we understand Nintendo dominates that market, they don't do anything in that market though. Nintendo doesn't outside obviously they got the Switch, but they're sitting on their hands right now. Nintendo's not planning on, they're waiting on that Switch too. So there's still room for another handheld device, especially from one of the big three. On top of the fact that nobody expected Xbox to even attempt to make a handheld. So that's going to get people inquiring just by itself. Like, oh, they're actually going to try and do this? Let me look at this. You know what I mean? Like, are they taking this really serious? So, all of that's dependent on the hardware and everything. But I love the fact that you brought up they have positioned themselves for that. And this is all me and Pong and you and Fuzz been talking about. Like, they don't always hit the mark. They do drop the ball often. You know what I mean? It happens. You know what I mean? A few times here they do some backwards ass shit. But a lot of times it's positioning. They position themselves over the last 4 to 5 years to be in a position to take advantage of where gaming is going. Or, the all digital age. You just brought it up, right? Cloud gaming. They put themselves in position to take advantage of all of that, even though right now that tree hasn't bear a lot of fruit. So I do like the fact that you brought that up still. But let's throw this over to you, Pong. Obviously, get your opinion on this. Next Xbox, handheld. Like I said earlier, Sarah Bond did mention, something about new hardware this winter. So just where you at? If that changed for you, Pong, or
Well, I mean, I don't believe they're going to launch anything this year.
No. I don't think so either. Yeah,
I don't think
that's
so
not
either.
gonna happen. Maybe a sneak peek or a little.
Well, TGS is now really interesting. We went from TGS supposedly the word being that they weren't.
Yeah, they weren't even going to go. Yeah.
To now all of a sudden full-fledged and Phil opening up the show with recorded like recorded video. Like, this is like nuts to me. And I've said all along, I think the Square Enix announcements of the games coming to Xbox could be there, which would be massive. And that could be one of the reasons why Xbox all of a sudden, or maybe it was all planned all along, but normally they are touting and it was downplayed this year for TGS. Normally they're out there in front of all this. Maybe it was a surprise thing. Maybe they wanted to surprise. I don't know. But I started thinking about it a little bit more, and I'm like, boy, oh boy, wouldn't TGS be the spot to tease the handheld? Because
you think
that
so?
Market is
better than the VGAs?
That market, that market is filled. It is the handheld market, right?
Well, yeah, that's
Eastern
true.
market,
That's true,
right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, not to say that it's not everywhere, because obviously Switch did it, and obviously, like Steele said, Steam Deck and everything else has pushed it. But I'm just saying, just a tease. I mean, again, I'm not saying a full-fledged reveal with everything, launch dates and pricing and specs. I'm just saying a tease. Right there in, the competition's hometown, TGS, be the first with your handheld out there in the wild as a tease, right? Out of between you and PlayStation. I think it'd be great because we do believe PlayStation is also working on a new handheld at some point, not the Portal, but an actual handheld. So yeah, I think that might happen. I mean, as far as the hardware goes, I'm all for it. I'm not the handheld guy at all. I've never been the handheld guy, although I did own a PSP and I did own a Vita and love both of them. Obviously, with those, they played exclusive games to those consoles, right? That was the deal. Like, there was...
Yeah, they had their own
games that were nowhere else, right? Yeah. That was it. Yeah. So there was a lot of cool stuff. In fact, Freedom Wars, one of my favorite Vita games, is now being remade out of the blue after 10 years. Like, it's freaking fantastic. That game was nowhere else, but it's now going to be available for everybody to play. But so I think that this time around, I'm on record as, because Xbox is in the position that they're in and everything that they're trying to do, and we just, had the interview with Bloomberg, with Sarah Bond and the future of Xbox, and she's got everybody up in arms again because she's talking about going outside the box and expanding out. Again, nothing new for anybody who's listened to her, nothing new that we haven't talked about. But because of that, right, I've said all along that I think because of the position they're in, they've got to come with compelling hardware. And to me, that's what makes this fascinating. They can't come with your status quo type hardware, right, in the position that they're in. They can't, they can't half dip their toes in. If they're going to do this, and Sarah Bond's legacy, let's be real, her legacy is going to be based upon this. She's now in charge of that division. Phil is now head of Microsoft Gaming. He's stepped back a little bit from the spotlight. This is kind of Sarah's moment to put her stamp on where Xbox is going in the future, along with the teams. And so I think she's going to come she's going to come with what she said in the past and triple down on, as the biggest technical leap in any generation. I think that's the reason why she's saying that over and over again, is because she knows she's going to make something very compelling. And with handheld and with this idea that Xbox wants everybody to play wherever they want, on whatever device they want, and they want to open things up, and they want people to have access to all their games, and where they're playing, all-inclusive idea. And if they create hardware, including a handheld, that seamlessly transitions between all my different places of playing, like they've already built most of the infrastructure for, like I said, now that I've got PC, it's having a save, I pop it on my Xbox, and I'm right back to where I left off on my PC. But if they can make that even more seamless with a handheld, to go along with a new box underneath the TV, I probably will invest in a handheld Xbox, right?
Same.
Like Steele said, if they're going to blur those lines, like we've talked about more and more with this hybrid system, making it more like the Steam Deck PC, just having, it be an Xbox UI, but then all of a sudden you can flip it over and have access to your Steam library or your Epic Store library, or your GOG library, or whatever. Well, okay, now we're talking. Because now I might have reason. Now I might have reason to do it. And I don't think it's going to be cheap. And that's, again, that gets me more excited. Some people might want something cheap, but to me, if the more enthusiast route they go, where they really put a lot of new features into it and really give people the complete experience,
that's going to be the more compelling to me.
Right, for me, correct, exactly. Even if I've got to save a little bit longer, even if I got to spend a little bit more, that's what's going to get me to buy into something like a handheld that I normally would buy into.
This is your first impression, too. This is your first. You only get one of those, right? The old adage is you only get one first impression, and this is big for Xbox. Nobody ever considered, I don't know how many people. A lot of us wanted them to try and do it, but we never. A lot of it was just us talking. We never even really. I didn't ever consider that they would actually do it. So the fact that, like you said, you've said it as well as Fong said it. Like, this thing is probably going to happen, and if it's anything, like what we hope it is, I'm 100% with you, Pong. I really do hope that, they put their foot down and really put the best product out there that they possibly can, because I think they have everything else already. You have all the ingredients on the table. You got the cloud, right? You got the whole people associate you with you putting games elsewhere, and you having this idea that you want to be the all-inclusive box. That's already synonymous with Xbox. You don't need to even go do that anymore. You've got that taken care of, right? You got the server stuff. You got your own. You don't need to go buy anybody's servers. You got that stuff taken care of. Like, you have the tech. Now you got the connections. You guys are cool with Steam. You guys got to deal with GeForce now. You know what I mean? Like, you have all the ingredients that you need. But like you said, they got to put the hardware together.
Yep, you do. And I guess I can't really add anything to it.
Yeah.
I think that Xbox is on the right path. Again, I've had nothing but faith in them that this is all going to come to fruition. Whereas some people try to claim that they're not going to do this, and they're wrapping up their hardware, and they don't care about their hardware anymore, and they don't care about anybody. I think it's just a bigger vision than that. Like Steele likes to say, something that they've freely said, 2 billion, 3 billion customers out there that they want to go try to get. They're going to continue to create access points, and it's going to be all different types of access points. And like I said, I even like the position better now because I believe, got to be very compelling to entice people to buy in on their hardware, which means we get better stuff. We get more stuff included in those boxes or those handhelds or whatever than a company that's on top that has nothing to worry about, like a Switch that can sell you 8-year-old cell phone technology and tell you it's the greatest shit ever, and you go buy it up for $300-$400. With Microsoft and Xbox where they're at, they're going to put their best foot forward, just like they've done with all their hardware in all the other different areas. Again, you can say that they haven't been able to compete, let's say, with their Surface.
People say that really a lot of times from a console standpoint, because the console sales are so but
But again, they still have 50, 60 million customers, which is a nothing healthy, to sneeze at, right? And even if you want to look at just the series consoles, they still have over 30 million customers, which is healthy. But just even looking at their other hardware divisions like the Surface came with their best foot forward. The Surface is a great piece of hardware. If you go own one, people who own the Surface love the freaking Surface. You can say they were outsold by Apple or they've never been able to compete in that realm, but the Surface is a great piece of hardware. So I look at something like that and say, when they're going to come with this handheld or they're going to come with their next box, it's going to have a lot of bells and whistles and really, really high-end stuff to try to overcome the fact that a lot of people look at it and say, well, you're not the most popular brand, that's why I buy PlayStation. They're going to try to put their best foot forward to say, no, you need to come look at us. And that's what's got me excited about all this.
Facts. That's awesome, bro. That's awesome. Steel, you got anything to piggyback off of this?
Nah, man. Yeah, knocked out the park.
Okay. All right, man. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up on that note, man. So we're going to go ahead and round the horn. And first and foremost, thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for coming out and hanging out with us. I appreciate all of you guys for hanging out with us. We do this every single Saturday. Shout out to Fuzz. Appreciate you. Okay. All right. Well, give me a quick second. Go ahead and we'll do we'll go around the horn here. Start with you, Steel. I'll be right back, fellas.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we can get naked every Saturday morning if you'd like to on Live Split Screen. We didn't have a show today, but we're definitely going to run it back on the 28th of September, live, raw, and uncut, as I like to do it. And giving you that RTS view, as we like to do, pulling ourselves out of the world, looking at the darker crevices of the map, pulling those resources together so we not only build up our own foundation, but also the foundation for those potential 2 to 3 billion gamers that are out there. Along with, you can find me, Steel Rain, that's I, Steel Rain I, or otherwise known as hold on real quick, because I gotta get it right. I'm still trying to get used to it, man.
It's all good.
You get these titles, you gotta make sure you say it right. Otherwise known as the Adeptus Custodes out here, getting my Warhammer on. But nah, yeah. I frequent the streets of X, otherwise known as Twitter. Outside of that, the Xbox ecosystem, because it works so well between the console and the PC itself. So yeah, man, Pizza K, appreciate you for having me on. It was definitely a good time, rocking and rolling, having my brother here as well. Hey, man, it was a fun time.
Oh, yeah, we had a good time. I appreciate you too, Still. Thank you so much. Once again, you guys know what to do, man. That's the other half, 50% of Living Split Screen. Go support the channel, man. They got big things going over there. Him and Pong do a fucking phenomenal show every single Saturday. Didn't have one this week, but you guys will catch them next week. They'll be back better than ever. You got goals to hit over there, man. Channel's growing. So shout out to you too, Still. You guys have been really cooking over there, man. I've been watching. I watch every week. I do my best to watch every week, but you've been doing your damn thing, bro. I'm real proud of you and Pong. Want to make sure I say that publicly. You guys are freaking awesome, man, and I love the show. But you guys go support, man. Show some love over there, man. Last but not least, my boy, my brother, Mr. Pong Soul, man. Another great show. We cooked. It was a 3-man show today, but it's all good, man. We gonna make it work. But let everybody know where they can find you if they don't already know, brother.
Yeah, it was a freaking fantastic night. Again, not being able to talk to my brother this morning and not being on Xbox Ultimate last night. It's good to sit down in the chair and talk some of the stuff, because there was a lot of news this week and there was a lot of excitement going on. And next week is could be a really massive week of Christmas again. Now that everybody's showing up at TGS, including PlayStation, for the first time is going to have a massive presence too, supposedly. This could be a really cool week of news. So excited for next week, but great to be here with you, PTK. Shout out to Fuzzy, miss you, Fuzzy. Can't wait to talk to you next week, brother. And thank you, Steel, for being here with us tonight, man. Obviously, great to talk to you after not being able to spend the morning with you, man. Listen, everybody, chat, you guys were incredible. All the familiar faces showing up tonight on a Saturday night. Again, I always say this is the best way to end your Saturday night on the Shop Podcast. I believe that. I think we just have a great show, and I appreciate all of you for coming through, because, again, without you, chat, we are nothing at all. So appreciate you all. You know how to find me, Pongso on X, formerly known as Twitter, Pongso on the Xbox, Pongso on GOG, Steam, Epic, wherever. Follow me, I'll follow you back. Hey, listen, y'all, Tuesdays, it starts. It's I'm not there anymore, but it doesn't matter. Double Barrel Gaming is the channel. Boomstick's the man, and he has done so much to support so many in the community. I will continue to shout it out because Xbox Factor has got a special place in my heart. So Tuesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time, all good things green. Join that crew over there, or any of his shows 5 days a week that Boom does, which is nuts. And then my week actually starts Thursdays, though, with PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM over in the Fun Speculation Network. That's right, I got the lead there on Thursday nights. Me and Mav have a good time. Join us 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. And again, next week's going to be massive because of all the news. We're going to have TGS that morning with the Xbox stuff and all stuff throughout the day. So next Thursday is going to be a big one. We're going to have a lot of fun talking a lot of stuff, state of play. Join us there. Again, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time, Thursday night. 4 p.m. in the PM. And then Friday nights, Xbox Ultimate Fun Speculation Channel, again, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Be there no matter how much of the family shows up. We always have a good time, lots of laughs, but we also have a lot of good talking points too. So join us every Friday night for Xbox Ultimate. And then like Steele said, and PTK said, we will be back next week for another episode of Living Split Screen, and we're going to have to catch up. Because Steele and I didn't get to talk about the $400 million robbery this week, broad daylight robbery. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to talk about TGS. We're going to talk about a state of play. We're going to talk about all sorts of crazy stuff. There was even that interview with Sarah Bond had some interesting points about her relationship with Phil Spencer. It was kind of cool to get a little inside baseball and makes a little sense. So we're going to have a big show next week, Living Split Screen. Split Screen is all one word, Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Buckle up. Unless one of us got something going on, I can imagine it's going to be a 4+ hour show like normal next week. So be there for that. Otherwise, y'all, it's the golden age of gaming. Please enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope you've had a great start to the weekend or wherever you're at. If it's Sunday already for some of you, I hope you're having a great last day of the weekend. But get out there, play what you love. Love what you play because there's a lot to do that for right now. And I'll talk to you all real soon. Thanks, PTK.
Appreciate you, man. You guys know what to do. Go follow Pong on all the socials. All of that stuff is down below. Same thing with Steel as well, too. All that information is down below. Links, socials. Please go show some support, man. Appreciate you, Pong, every single week coming through, man. But last but not least, the host here. Like Pong said, we love being here. We do this for you guys in chat, man. Like I said, I appreciate the energy. The show is back consistently now, guys. So I've taken my hiatus that I needed to get back to where I needed to. So we're going to be back every week. So you guys can expect the same greatness from the Shop Podcast every week. Doesn't matter who's here, we're going to make it happen. But you guys can follow me on the socials at Twitter, PTK Blam, on Xbox, PTK Blam. Come check out the show next week. The DMs are always open, so suggestions, things like that, I'm always open to any of that. So I appreciate you guys, man. Everybody on the replay, too. Thank you guys for watching on the replay. You guys are fucking awesome. But we'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place. Go have some games. Go have some fun, play some games. Appreciate you guys. Peace out, everybody.